welcome to the Curious Room.
It's good to be here. And for this one, it feels especially good to be here for this topic.
Exactly. Usually when we start these deep dives, we're all high energy. We're trying to jump right into the data, get everything moving.
Get the neurons firing, yeah.
We want the insights, and we want them now. But today, I think today needs to be different.
It has to be. It has to be, just because of the source material we're holding.
Right. Because for this deep dive, the Curious Room isn't just, a metaphor for the show. It's really the conceptual space that our source creates.
It is.
We're looking at a text called The Vanishing Hour, a gentle guide to aging time. And I have to be honest, just reading that title made my heart rate drop about 10 beats per minute.
And that tells you everything, doesn't it? Right off the bat, the tone is all there. This isn't a textbook on, temporal physics.
Not at all.
It's not a medical journal on cognitive decline or biological clocks. It's a guide, and specifically a gentle guide.
So to you, listening to us right now, I just want you to take a breath with us. Go on, unclench your jaw, drop your shoulders away from your ears.
I'm doing it right now.
I'm serious. Do it. The vibe we're going for here is it's slow, it's polite, and it's reassuring. Because the topic we're tackling, it's one that usually brings on a mild panic in, basically everyone I know.
Oh, including us, let's be clear.
Including us, 100%. We're talking about that. That heavy, often silent feeling that the years are just slipping away.
Faster and faster.
You know the feeling. It was just Monday. You swear it was. And then suddenly it's Friday evening. Or to you.
Yeah.
You look at a photo from a vacation and you realize it's 10 years ago. But emotionally, physically, it feels like last week.
It's like the accelerator pedal is stuck to the floor and you can't quite reach the brake.
Yes. And normally when we talk about time perception, we get into all complex physics or, the harsh biology.
Right. Metabolic rates, dopamine receptors, relativity.
We try to science our way out of the feeling. But the Vanishing Hour has a completely different mission.
It really does. Its mission is to make you feel understood, not taught. It avoids the heavy academic words, at least at the beginning. It explicitly says it wants to use simple English and human feelings. So it's less like a professor with a laser pointer and more like a calm, thoughtful storyteller.
Someone sitting in an armchair next to you.
Exactly. Maybe with a cup of tea.
Which is why we're going to take our time with this. We aren't here to solve the problem of time in the next hour. We're not here to hack your calendar.
No,
we're just here to sit with the sensation. So let's unpack this. Where does a guide like this even start?
Well, it starts by validating the experience. It gives it a name, which I think is so important. We calls it the universal sensation.
Oh, I love that. It's not, the aging disorder or temporal dysmorphia. It's the universal sensation.
Correct. And the source makes this very strong point right at the beginning. This feeling is not a glitch in your specific brain. It's not because you're too busy or because you're distracted by your phone, though we'll get to that.
Right.
It's a shared human condition.
That's good. That is surprisingly comforting because I think so many of us, we suffer this in silence. You feel like, I'm not managing my time well, or I'm not being present enough.
We internalize it.
We totally do. We treat it like a moral failure. Like if I were a better person, a more mindful person, this whole year wouldn't have just flown by.
Exactly. We treat it as a problem we have to solve. We go out and buy planners. We download mindfulness apps. We try to force ourselves to slow down.
Yeah, that never works.
Well, the source argues that this feeling, the vanishing hour, is a natural part of the narrative of life. It treats it almost like a season. You wouldn't get angry at winter for being cold.
No.
It's just winter. So why are we so angry at time for feeling fast?
That's a beautiful reframe.
Yeah.
But let's be real for a second. It's hard, isn't it? Because winter, it eventually turns into spring. This feels like a one-way street. It feels like a loss.
It does feel like a loss. And the source doesn't shy away from that at all. It really explores the real-life feelings of it. Yes. It talks about how this isn't just an observation, it's a deep emotion.
Okay.
It describes it as a loss of control. I mean, think back to when you were a child.
Oh, man. Summers lasted for a decade. A single afternoon was an eternity.
Right. When you're a child, an hour is forever. A car ride to the next town feels like some grand odyssey. And you have so much control over that hour because you're inhabiting every single second of it.
You're noticing everything.
The dust motes in the sun, the smell of the car, the sound of the wind. You're the protagonist of that moment.
Yeah.
But as we age, the source suggests we start to feel Less like the drivers and more like, well, like passengers in our own timeline.
Passengers. That's it. That is the scary part. It's that feeling that you're just looking out the window and the scenery is blurring past, and you can't ask the driver to slow down. You're just strapped in.
It is. And this is where we get to the most fascinating pivot in the entire text. And this is where the curious room gets really, really interesting and where we have to sort of challenge what we think we know about why this happens.
Okay, lay it on me. Because I definitely have my own theories.
I'm sure. Well, usually if you ask someone, even a scientist, why time goes faster as we get older, what's the standard explanation? What's the cocktail party answer?
Oh, it's routine. It's always routine. They say, I do the same thing every day. I get up, drink coffee, go to work, come home. Yeah. My brain has seen it all before, so it just stops recording new memories.
It compresses the duplicate file.
Exactly. So a month of the same old thing feels like a single day of memory. That's the whole holiday paradox, right?
Yeah, right. You go on vacation for 1 week to a new place, and it feels like a month because everything is novel, everything is new. You stay home for a month doing the daily grind, and it feels like a week. That's the standard explanation. Let's call it the boredom hypothesis.
The Vanishing Hour disagrees with that.
It doesn't just disagree. It suggests that explanation is so incomplete that it's actually misleading.
Wow, okay.
It links the speed of time not to boredom, but to uncertainty.
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 Yeah, that seems completely counterintuitive.
Yeah.
I would think uncertainty would make time slow down to a crawl. Like if I'm waiting for a diagnosis at the doctor's office or I'm walking down a dark street and I hear a noise behind me, time doesn't speed up. It stops. Every second is agonizingly long.
In the immediate moment, yes, you're absolutely right. That's what we could call acute time perception. But the source argues that, broadly speaking, over the course of weeks and months and years, the hidden driver of the vanishing hour is this low-level background hum of not knowing.
How uncertainty quietly affects thoughts and body. I remember seeing that in the notes.
Precisely. Think about it this way. When we say routine makes time fast, we're assuming that routine is boring. But this source argues that in the modern world, even our routines aren't actually boring. They're anxious.
Oh.
Even if we don't feel it consciously.
So it's not the repetition that's the problem. It's the underlying unease of it all.
Yes. The source describes it as attention, a quiet background hum of what happens next. When you're young, what happens next is usually pretty structured.
Right. School, summer break, the next grade, graduation, there's a roadmap.
The rails are laid down for you. You just have to walk along them.
Exactly.
But as we get older, what happens next becomes vastly more complex and vastly more uncertain. Our health, money, relationships, aging parents.
The state of the economy, the state of the world.
All of it. And the source claims this affects the body.
It does.
It says uncertainty isn't just a thought that stays up in your prefrontal cortex. It settles into the body. It creates this physiological state where we are constantly, even if just slightly, bracing for impact.
I'm trying to picture this. So if my body is bracing, if I have this low-level anxiety, why does that make time go faster? Shouldn't I be recording more memories if I'm hyper-alert?
That's the logical assumption, isn't it? But here's the twist in the thinking. When you are bracing for something, you aren't actually in the present moment. You're leaning forward into the next one. Oh. You're scanning the horizon for the potential threat or for the solution.
So you're literally projecting yourself out of the present.
The source suggests that this constant state of anticipation, this subtle, nagging what if, it compresses our perception of now. We're rushing through the now to get to some kind of resolution that hasn't even happened yet.
Wow. Okay, that hits home. It's like, okay, imagine I'm sitting at dinner with friends. But in the back of my mind, I'm worried about a big presentation I have to give tomorrow morning.
Yes. Let's really break that down. You're at the dinner.
I am physically eating the food. I'm nodding at the conversation. But my brain is essentially running a simulation of tomorrow morning.
Rehearsing slides?
Yeah. I'm wondering if the tech is going to work, what questions they'll ask.
Exactly. So you were physically present at that dinner, but temporally. You were projected into the future. You were living in a hypothetical tomorrow. And because you weren't there to actually witness the dinner, you didn't really taste the basil and the pasta. You didn't really hear the nuance in your friend's laugh. The memory just isn't properly encoded.
It's a ghost memory.
Yeah.
A placeholder.
And without the anchor of a solid memory, the hour vanishes. When you look back at that night, it's just a blur. Not because it was boring, but because you were never really there to begin with.
It is. That's profound. And honestly, It's a little terrifying. It means we're stealing time from ourselves.
We are. We're constantly trading the present for a future that hasn't arrived.
But the source, it gives us some concrete evidence for this, right? It doesn't just stay in this abstract philosophical space.
No, it grounds this in very simple everyday examples. And the first one is the one we touched on a little earlier, waiting.
The waiting phenomenon.
Yes. So let's look at the paradox of waiting. You said earlier that waiting feels incredibly slow, and the source acknowledges that.
It's excruciating.
When you're waiting for a train that's late or for that text message after a first date, the minutes just drag. It's painful. It feels like wading through molasses.
It is the longest hour of your life. You check your phone, it's 2.0. You check it again, you swear an hour has passed and it's 2.01.
But, and this is the key distinction the source makes, when you look back on it, periods of waiting often vanish from your memory.
Right, because nothing happened.
Because nothing happened, yes.
Right.
But also because waiting is the pure embodiment of uncertainty. It is the raw state of not knowing when. The source argues that because the brain is suspended in that lack of resolution, it doesn't lay down the rich, textured tracks of memory that give time its weight. It's just empty space on the tape.
So we endure the slowness in the moment, the actual suffering of the clock ticking, but we lose the time in retrospect.
Yes.
We get the worst of both worlds.
Precisely. It's lost time, a gap in the record. And if you spend a whole year waiting for your life to really start, waiting to get the promotion, waiting to move, waiting for the right person to come along, you might find that year just disappears from your memory completely.
Because you were living in the when, not the now. You were on pause. And life does not record while it's paused.
That connects directly to the second example, which I have to say, this one feels like my entire life. Decisions.
The burden of decisions.
We think of making a decision as an active process, right? I am doing something. I am making a choice. But the source frames it very differently. It frames decision-making as a form of oscillation. Just think about how much mental energy we spend just choosing, oscillating between option A and option B.
Oh, totally. I mean, just picking a movie to watch on a streaming service, I call it Netflix paralysis. I will scroll for 45 minutes.
Let's stick with that example. It's perfect. You scroll for 45 minutes, you're watching trailers, you're reading reviews, you add things to your list, then you take them off.
And then I realize it's too late to actually watch a 2-hour movie, so I just go to bed.
The source says this just eats up the clock, but it's deeper than just wasting a few minutes. The act of indecision is, again, a state of pure uncertainty. You are suspended between two potential futures. The future where you watch the comedy, and the future where you watch the thriller.
You haven't landed in reality yet.
You're just hovering. And while you hover, the clock keeps ticking, but you aren't living, you're just processing.
It's not an experience.
No. And the source connects us to the fatigue of the modern world. We are constantly making these micro decisions. Scroll or stop, like or ignore, reply now or reply later, buy the blue one or the red one.
And every single one of those micro decisions is a tiny moment of not being present. It's a tiny moment of bracing for the wrong choice.
Correct. And it creates a fragmented experience of time. Instead of time being a smooth, flowing river, it becomes a series of choppy, disconnected blips. And choppy time is hard to hold on to. It just slips through your fingers like sand.
This makes me think of our learner profile, the person who wants to learn everything. I find myself spending hours just researching what the best book is to read on a topic.
And then you realize you have no time left to actually read the book.
Exactly. I spend all the time optimizing the experience instead of having the experience.
That is the perfect example of the vanishing hour. The uncertainty of what is the best choice consumed the time that was meant for the experience itself. You traded the joy of reading for the anxiety of choosing.
And then that leads to the third example, the really big one, the unknown future.
The big one, yeah.
This feels like it just ties everything together.
It does. Waiting, decisions, and the unknown future, they all share the same DNA, the DNA of instability. When we face the big unknown future, aging, career changes, family shifts, we are fundamentally unstable. And the source argues that when we are unstable, we cannot be fully present. We are constantly just trying to stabilize ourselves.
And that effort, that constant stabilization effort, is just background noise.
It's noise, and that noise drowns out the quiet music of the passing hour.
Okay, so let's get into the why of all this. We've talked about the feeling, we've talked about the examples, but I want to get under the hood. Why does the brain do this? Why doesn't my brain just say, okay, I don't know what's happening next, so I'm just going to enjoy this cup of coffee?
Yeah.
Why is that so hard?
This brings us right to section 4, the neurology of control, Or, as the source puts it more simply, why the brain dislikes not knowing.
The brain is a control freak.
The brain is the ultimate control freak. You have to remember, your brain, it doesn't really care if you're happy. It cares if you are alive.
Survival.
It's a prediction machine. Its primary job, from an evolutionary standpoint, is to predict what is going to happen in the next second, the next minute, the next hour.
Right. Is that a stick on the path, or is it a snake? Is that rustling in the bushes a tiger, or just the wind? I need to know now.
Exactly. The brain craves patterns. It craves predictability. When the story makes sense, the brain can relax. It can settle in. It stops scanning for threats, and it starts recording the scenery.
The source had that great analogy of the calm storyteller versus the chaotic event.
Yes. Imagine you're listening to a story where the plot follows a logical, predictable path. A hero goes on a journey, faces a challenge, overcomes it. You can relax into that narrative. You can enjoy the details.
Because I'm not worried about where it's going.
Yeah.
I trust the narrator.
You trust the narrator. Your brain has resources free to enjoy the moment. But now, imagine a story where the plot is completely random. Characters appear and disappear without explanation. The rules of physics keep changing. You don't know who's good or bad.
I'm not enjoying the scenery. I'm not listening to the adjectives. I'm just desperately trying to figure out what the heck is going on so I don't get hurt or look stupid.
Exactly. Your cognitive load goes through the roof. You're in hyper-processing mode. And the source suggests that not knowing creates this intense mental friction.
Friction. That's a really good word for it.
And this friction, it prevents us from settling into the moment. The brain is so busy trying to resolve the uncertainty, trying to find the pattern in the chaos, that it stops recording the texture of the present. It essentially says, we don't have enough RAM to record this sunset right now. We need all power to the shields.
So the vanishing hour is basically the brain skipping over the present to get to a predicted future that feels safer.
That is a brilliant way to put it. The brain is trying to fast forward through the scary part of the movie. It wants to get to the part where everything is resolved and okay again.
But the problem with aging
is that the uncertainty never really resolves.
Right. There is no, and then they lived happily ever after moment where the uncertainty just stops. As we get older, the uncertainty actually increases. The plot gets more chaotic.
And so the brain just stays in, fast forward. It keeps hitting skip, 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 looking for a stable place to land. And suddenly, 10 years have gone by.
That's the aha moment for me in all of this. I always thought I was losing time because I was getting older, my brain was getting slower, my neurons weren't firing as fast. But this suggests I'm losing time because my brain is working too hard.
Yes.
It's constantly processing this background noise of the unknown.
Exactly. You aren't losing your edge, you're just overburdened by the friction of the unknown. You are exhausted by the sheer effort of trying to predict the unpredictable.
So naturally, the next question every single person listening is probably screaming at their device right now is, how do we fix it? How do we stop the tape from fast forwarding? If I can't make the world more predictable, how do I get my time back?
And this is where the vanishing hour throws us a real curveball. And honestly, it's a curveball that might frustrate some people, at least at first.
Section 5. A shift in perspective. And the heading is gentle reflection, not solutions.
This is so rare, especially in our line of work. We're used to finding the 5 steps to slow down your perception of time.
Right. Meditate for 20 minutes, journal, take a cold plunge, do a dopamine detox. I was definitely expecting a digital detox recommendation. Put your phone in a lockbox for a week.
But the source explicitly avoids all motivational speech. It avoids strong conclusions. It completely resists the fix.
Why? I mean, wouldn't a solution be helpful? We just diagnosed a pretty serious problem. Why leave us hanging?
Well, think about what we just discussed. What is the fundamental driver of the speed of time?
Uncertainty, anxiety, the need for control, the need to stabilize the situation.
Exactly. So if I give you a rigid set of rules to fix your time perception, what am I adding to your life?
More pressure, more things to do right, more things to fail at.
You're adding a new metric for success or failure. Oh no, I didn't meditate today. Now I'm losing time even faster. I have to hurry up and slow down.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's a complete paradox. Trying to force yourself to slow down time actually creates more anxiety about time, which just speeds it up. It's a Chinese finger trap. The harder you pull, the tighter it gets.
It creates more friction. And the source recognizes this trap. It says the only way to approach this is with gentle curiosity.
Gentle curiosity instead of strong conclusions. I like that phrase. But what does that actually look like in practice?
It asks us to just model a different behavior. So instead of fighting the speed of time, we simply observe it.
So when I feel that hour vanish, when I get to Friday and realize the week is gone, instead of panicking and thinking I've wasted my week, I should just say, huh, look at that.
Oh, look how fast that went. Isn't that interesting? My brain was really fast-forwarding this week. I wonder what I was bracing for.
It sounds almost too simple. Is that really enough? Just watching it happen?
Well, it's not about fixing it. It's about diffusing the tension around it. It acknowledges the reality without judging it. It removes the resistance. And the source implies that the resistance is part of what fuels the accelerator. When you fight the flow of time, when you cling to the riverbank, the current feels violent and scary. When you just watch the water move,
The panic subsides.
exactly, you're still moving, time is still passing, but the suffering associated with the speed is reduced.
It's like being in a river. If you thrash around trying to swim upstream, trying to get back to Monday, you just exhaust yourself and drown. But if you just float,
You're still moving toward the same ocean, but the journey becomes bearable, maybe even beautiful.
this brings us right back to that idea of the curious room, this mental space we're in right now.
Yes, a place where it's safe to not know the answer. A place where we don't have to have a neat takeaway or a 5-point strategy.
I think that's what I need to take away from this. That it's okay that I don't know what happens next.
And it's okay that time feels fast. It is not a personal failure. It's a symptom of being human, of caring about the future, of trying to navigate a complex world. It's just proof that your brain is trying to protect you.
You know, we've been talking for a while. I actually don't know how long, but this conversation, it hasn't felt fast. It felt present.
Because we allowed ourselves to dwell on it. We didn't rush to a conclusion. We just explored the terrain. We sat in the uncertainty of the topic itself without trying to solve it immediately.
We did. So maybe we should recap the journey we just took for the listener who's maybe just coming out of that trance and needs to carry something back into the real world.
A gentle recap. We started with the sensation, the vanishing hour, that universal feeling that time is speeding up as we age.
And we learned that the hidden driver isn't just routine. It's not that we're bored. It's uncertainty. That low-level hum of anxiety that keeps us leaning into the future.
We looked at the evidence, how waiting and deciding and just facing the unknown future all create this instability, and how that instability prevents the brain from laying down the memory tracks that give time its substance.
We saw that the brain dislikes not knowing, so it tries to skip the scary parts, creating that friction that just eats up the clock.
And finally, we learned that the answer isn't a hack or a fix. It isn't a new calendar system. It's a shift in perspective, gentle curiosity, observation without judgment.
It's a lot to take in, but in a very soft way.
It is.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you with one final thought. The source talks about a calm ending that leaves the listener thinking.
Yes. And this is something to carry with you, something to just keep in your pocket this week.
Oh.
We established that the brain speeds up time to skip over uncertainty. It fast forwards to avoid the discomfort of not knowing. So perhaps the only way to truly slow it down is not to change what you do, but to change how you feel about the unknown.
To make friends with it.
Exactly. If the brain speeds up time to skip over uncertainty, perhaps the only way to slow it down is to make friends with not knowing. To sit in the uncertainty, whether it's waiting for a text or waiting for a life change, and to just say, I don't know what comes next, and that's okay.
I don't know what comes next, and that is okay.
That is where the time is. It's hiding in the uncertainty, and if you can stop fearing the unknown, you stop skipping the present.
That is beautiful. And honestly, it's a huge relief. Thank you for guiding us through this.
It was a pleasure to sit in this room with you.
And to you, listening, thank you for trusting us with your time. We know how precious it is, more than ever now. We hope this hour felt a little slower, a little kinder, and a little more yours. Take care of yourself. We'll see you in the next deep dive.
Goodbye.